Lots of questions from you guys in regards to the shooting of Charlie Kirk on yesterday. What are my thoughts? Do I have any opinions on it? You know, I have thoughts. You know, I have opinions. I needed to take some time to process my thoughts and opinions. And even now, I'm not 100% sure that I have thoroughly and fully processed my thoughts and opinions. However, I will say, as we move through this video, I will say that I am enjoying a delicious cup of coffee this morning in one of my pretty mugs that was gifted to me by one of my wonderful supporters, Twisted Life Poetry. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this delicious cup of coffee in memory of Charlie Kirk. Mm. Needs more cream, but let's get into it. I wanted to show you this entire beautiful set. It comes with a little plate along with a little spoon. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy my coffee this morning. Listen, can I have empathy for the situation? Absolutely. I have empathy for the situation. I did not see the video, thank God. I did see a still shot of the moment, and I saw it not going out looking for it. Someone posted a photo of said situation in the comment section, in my comment section over on Threads. So I wasn't willingly looking for the visual because that type of gore and graphic that represents real life, that bothers me. That traumatized me. So I had to also deal with some trauma last night. That visual kind of like haunted me all night long. I think it's sad. I think it's sad that he had to go out that way. But I will not come in here and try to pretend that Charlie Kirk was anything other than a racist white supremacist, a homophobe, a transphobe. He incited violence against my community regularly. He denigrated my community regularly. He tried to disrespect and denigrate Black people and their historical contributions to this country. He minimized us regularly. He dehumanized us regularly. I was not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I do have empathy for the situation. At the same time, I stand on the fact that what goes around comes around. I stand on karma is coming. I stand on hate begets hate. I stand on what you put out, you get back tenfold. I stand on vengeance is mine, said the Lord. That's what I stand on. And Charlie Kirk incited violence. Charlie Kirk said some of the most disgusting, heinous things in the past 10 years since Donald Trump came down that escalator. And at some point, Charlie Kirk was going to get his karma. Was I praying for it? No. Am I celebrating it? No. But Charlie Kirk got his comeuppance yesterday, and it's sad because it didn't have to happen. All of this political violence, it does not have to happen. What you put out, you get back. And for all of the people out there that are screaming, the left is murdering people for using their First Amendment rights. You have the First Amendment right to say whatever it is that you want to say. You do. That does not mean you won't suffer any consequences. And no, y'all like my Juneteenth t-shirt? Charlie Kirk was thoroughly against Juneteenth. Charlie Kirk denigrated and disrespected what Juneteenth stood for. Charlie Kirk did a whole video coming back and saying, Juneteenth, I'm going to work, trying to dismiss the value of Juneteenth. So yeah, I'm wearing my Juneteenth t-shirt today in memory of Charlie Kirk. As I sip on this delicious cup of coffee in my beautiful floral glass mug. Mm. I added more cream to it, so it's perfect now. Let's talk about some things that I have seen out there on social media. Now, if you've been watching news media, mainstream news media, your CBS's, your NBC News, your MSNBC's, Fox News, they're talking about Charlie Kirk as if he was an asset to society. They're talking about Charlie Kirk as if he did good in this society. All Charlie Kirk did was spread hate and division. He punched down on marginalized communities. He punched down on the importance of women. Charlie Kirk was not an asset to society. Charlie Kirk dehumanized several different groups that are a part of this society. Charlie Kirk was for one group, and that was white Christian men. That's it. And he made millions of dollars dehumanizing other groups of people to uplift one group of people. Charlie Kirk was all over the place on social media. He garnered millions of followers. Charlie Kirk did tours on college campuses around the country to groom the minds of young kids, young white kids, to continue on his thought process. That's what Charlie Kirk did. Charlie Kirk was no asset to me and my community. And when you see some of these content creators who are bawling while they're doing their videos, the reason why they can do that is because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk spewed, they weren't on the receiving end of that. The violence that he spewed, they weren't on the receiving end of that. The hateful rhetoric that he spewed, they weren't on the receiving end of that. Me and my community were. The LGBTQIA plus community was. We were on the receiving end of the violent, hateful, racist rhetoric that he spewed. That is why they can have such compassion and empathy for the death of Charlie Kirk. That is why they are crying. The MAGA nuts are furious. They weren't on the receiving end of Charlie Kirk's rhetoric. His rhetoric hurt me and my community. When he talked about Black pilots being DEI hires, when he talked about Michelle Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and the other Black women that he pointed out were DEI hires and they stole spaces from white people, that hurt me and my community. So that is why it's so easy for these white leftists to get up in front of their cameras crying, being totally devastated over the death of Charlie Kirk. They weren't really on the receiving end of his violent, hateful rhetoric. So let's take a look at some of the things that he said out there on social media by way of Twitter or his podcast. Let's take a look, shall we? I got all of these clips over on Rogue DNC on Instagram. And this right here is what Charlie Kirk had to say about his daughter possibly being pregnant.
See you. So I just have one question. There's in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal? There's a very, very rare couple cases. Okay, so you do think that a couple cases it is legal? If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs, okay, that is the only case where abortion should be allowed. But people say it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary. Okay. So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped and she was going to give birth and she was and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby? That's awfully graphic. But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people. The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. Oh, okay, great. So that's insane. But let me tell you what.
Charlie Kirk said if his 10-year-old daughter was raped, then that baby, he would force that baby to be delivered. He would force his 10-year-old daughter who was raped to have that baby. Here's what Charlie Kirk had to say about Martin Luther King Jr. Y'all know they love to pull Martin Luther King Jr. out of their ass when they try to use it to spin a narrative. But here Charlie Kirk says that Martin Luther King was a bad man.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake.
Charlie Kirk says the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Why? Because it gave rights to Black people. It was a step forward to giving equality to Black people. And because Martin Luther King was the catalyst of that, Martin Luther King was a bad man. Yeah, let's keep going.
Your thoughts, and I wanted to make sure that, after that conversation, we talk about the positives, and then we also get into some of the other implications of this. We're a truth-seeking show, but I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He's not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful.
Charlie Kirk says Martin Luther King did not deserve a national holiday. He did not deserve godlike status. And in fact, he thinks that is very harmful. That's what Charlie Kirk said. And why did Charlie Kirk attack Martin Luther King? Because Martin Luther King was a beloved hero within the Black community. Martin Luther King is a civil rights icon. Martin Luther King instilled in us a fight that we continue to use today. And that is why Charlie Kirk attacked Martin Luther King, tried to diminish his status in the United States. Because diminishing one of our civil rights icons, he believes that would bring us down a peg or two. That's my opinion. Charlie Kirk didn't believe in empathy and compassion. Charlie Kirk stood toe-to-toe, shoulder-to-shoulder with Elon Musk and trying to groom others' minds to not be empathetic or compassionate. Right? Because if you have empathy and compassion, you're more prone to unifying and fighting for the rights of others. You're more prone to want to unify and live with others, you're more prone to stand for equality and justice for others. So Charlie Kirk and Elon Musk and a lot of the people over on the right, they lack compassion and empathy, but will tout that they are Christians. They will continuously say they went to church on Sunday. They're praying for this person or that person. But yet, one of the major tenets of Christianity is compassion and love, and yet they lack that. Here's Charlie Kirk talking about how he feels about empathy.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but
Empathy is a new age term that does a lot of damage. And what is the damage? It's all of the things that I said before. If you're empathetic and compassionate, you're more prone to equality and justice. If you're empathy and compassionate, you're more willing to fight for the rights of all people. If you're empathy and compassionate, you're more willing to unify with all groups of people. If you have empathy and compassion, you're less likely to be white supremacist or racist or wanting to be harmful to other groups of people. Yeah, that's why it's harmful. Listen, there's a whole lot more of these clips of Charlie Kirk and the message, the harmful rhetoric that he spread. That's what he did with his life. This type of rhetoric is what he did while he was on this earth for a big chunk of it. I'll share more towards the end of this video. Now remember, when I first started this video, I told you guys that the perpetrator had not been caught. The murderer had not been caught. The shooter had not been caught. They don't know the race. They don't know the gender. They don't know the political affiliation or ideology. They don't know anything. The shooter has not been caught. And yet you have right-wing politicians, you have news media on the right, you have social media content creators with large followings on the right coming out and calling for the heads, the complete annihilation of people on the left and the Democratic Party. I was over on Mother Jones, and Mother Jones had compiled some of what these people had to say. Let's go through them, shall we? This is Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate put this out there on social media. Civil War. Y'all know the Andrew Tate who was arrested, him and his brother over there in some other country, I forget the country, for for human trafficking, for kidnapping, I believe. All of this is allegedly because I can't remember the charges specifically. But yeah, they were arrested. They were being held in that country. Donald Trump intervened and got them released to the United States. And then they ended up getting investigated here for something that went down in the state of Florida, and they fled the United States. I don't know where they are now or if they're back in the United States, but that Andrew Tate. Yeah, this is what he put out there on social media. Good old Jesse Waters got up in front of the cameras last night and he spewed this. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? That's what Jesse Waters over on Fox News said in front of the camera to his millions of rabid viewers. First of all, who is the they? The they is the people on the left, the Democrats. That's who the they is. Mind you, we don't know who the perpetrator is. We don't know nothing about the perpetrator. And this is what Jesse Waters is saying to his millions of rabid viewers. Okay? Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife. It's a real treat to see all these liberals condemn political violence now. You have blood on your hands, as do you, Katie Miller, and your husband. Both of you have blood on your hands from the violence that you incite. Your husband is responsible for alligator Alcatraz. Your husband is responsible for rounding up innocent people and detaining them and shipping them off to other countries, countries that they know nothing about. Your husband is responsible. Both you and your husband are responsible for inciting political violence against people on the left. Representative Hortman and her husband and the dog. The attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. Yeah, this is what you and your husband and the people on the right, you incite the people on the right to do these types of acts against the people on the left and the Democrats. You all have blood on your hands as well. And unfortunately, you all have a president that won't speak on the violence that is perpetrated on the people on the left. He will amplify and talk about the violence that is perpetrated against people on the right, but he won't do that on the left. He has flown the flag at half mast at the White House through the weekend, offered condolences, public condolences to the family, as he should, to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk, as he should, did a presidential speech regarding the death of Charlie Kirk, but he did none of that when Representative Hortman and her husband were murdered. He did none of that. He and his family mocked and laughed at the attack on Nancy Pelosi, Katie Miller. That's what you all did on the right. You all don't acknowledge the attacks, the political violence perpetrated on people on the left. But when you get your comeuppance on the right, we all must show empathy and compassion towards you. We all must speak out against political violence. But you do nothing of the sort. You all don't even offer empathy, true empathy and compassion to children murdered while learning in school. All of that blood is on your hands. The left won't stop until it's forced to. This was put out there by Daryl Cooper, a far-right activist and podcaster. I don't know who that is. But for Mother Jones to pick it up, it must be someone that has a huge following. The left won't stop until it's forced to. This is calling for violence against the people on the left and the Democrats. And we don't even know who the shooter is. The goal for Republicans in the next 10 years shouldn't just be to win elections, but to destroy the Democrat Party entirely and salt the earth underneath it. That was put out there by William Wolf, former Trump administration official and Christian nationalist influencer. This is the Christianity that they follow. Violence, hate, murder, division, annihilation of the Democratic Party, of Black people, of the LGBTQIA plus community, of other marginalized communities. Exterminate the left and then salt the earth underneath it. And yet they demand compassion and understanding. Compassion, empathy, and understanding. The right wants the freedom to harass, bully, be violent towards, talk down to, denigrate, disrespect. They want the rights and the freedoms to do that to people on the left without repercussions. They want us to zip it, not say anything, just take it and say, yes, sir, may I have some more? That's what they want. They don't want us to speak up and out against their violence and their hateful rhetoric towards us. That's what they want. And it's just not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And if that's not going to happen, and if we're going to go back and forth, where is that going to leave us? Where is that going to leave us? I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow someone to continuously punch me in my face and I not fight back. That's just not going to happen. So where does that leave us? I don't advocate for violence. I don't condone violence, but I will always defend myself. Always. And with Donald Trump in office, he is the king of stirring up political violence. All of this occurs, in my opinion, it lays at the feet of Donald Trump. He is the source. He is the head. He is the reason why we have so much political violence in our society.
Firing squad. No, it's true. Boom, gone. Bang, bing, bong. When we were strong, bing, and it goes quickly, right? It's called, you're dead.
That is the President of the United States. And this is how he behaved out there on the campaign trail. And as he sits in the Oval Office, Donald Trump continues to spew violent and hateful rhetoric to divide this country. Donald Trump is the reason why we are here today. You've got MAGA nuts who are totally losing their shit out there on social media. Let me show you what I came across.
I've never been so pissed in my whole life. And this murder Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. That's just bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? God damn it. Use your freaking words as they're talking to people. Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving in a problem right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it.
I've come across several other videos of MAGA nuts putting out videos like this. This is a scary time. And I think the empathy that I have is 50% towards what I feel is coming. They've been pushing for a civil war for years. They've been pushing for it. And the death of Charlie Kirk has just pushed us so much more closer. With all of the posts being put out, there are several others out there. Laura Loomer, Nancy Mace, so many others putting out such heinous, violent rhetoric to stir up anger like this. So the empathy I have, the sadness that I feel is knowing that we are so much more closer to where they've been trying to push us for the last decade. That's all I got, y'all. Y'all get down in the comments. Y'all let me know your thoughts. And yeah, we're going back to our regularly scheduled programming. I will say this, though. I will say this. The shooter, it seems like a hit job to me. That's my opinion. Seems like a hit job. In my opinion, it looks like Charlie Kirk was a sacrifice. Yeah. The shooter, to me, wasn't just an everyday person. The shooter, in my opinion, was skilled. I'll see y'all later.
Data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
If that's your explanation, but I guess
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that affected
in the last 80 years.
The generational psyche of an entire group of people?
No, I'm sure it did. I'm not discounting that.
I want your thoughts, and I wanted to make sure that, after that conversation, we talk about the positives, and then we also get into some of the other implications of this. We're a truth-seeking show. But I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful. Kirk, we note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. As we note in the piece, Kirk has previously described Kirk as a hero and a civil rights icon. It's true. I used to be wrong. What inspired Kirk to shift his view on MLK? Why does Kirk think that MLK is a bad guy? When Kirk says that MLK says, quote, one good thing he didn't believe, what does he mean by that? Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right? Once a week we talk about why the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Yeah, and so it's very simple. So how do you love somebody? You love them so much to correct their error. Yeah. And so let's just, take the pride conversation out because people think it's an identification, but it's not. It's just sexual behavior. But it's if you meet an alcoholic or you meet a drug addict, do you affirm their struggle? No. You say, you're better than this. Let's get you free from that. Let's get you free from that activity. Is in Leviticus 18, is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. So, Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matter.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage. But
these people are sick, and I don't say that lightly. The NCAA is a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship and then was allowed in incredibly disturbing detail to be around you and your fellow competitors. And again, I blame the decline of American men. This never should have been, someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s. But, as you have testosterone rates go down and men start acting like women and they don't do anything, then, hey, who's to say you're going to look, there are a lot of sick people in the world, unfortunately, and without the strength to go against them, the country is going to completely. I hate being lied to, and I hate being propagandized. And this weekend, there was an all-out propaganda campaign trying to make it seem as if Israel is intentionally starving the people of Gaza. I hate being lied to, especially by the media networks. They lied to us about COVID. They lied to us about the vaccines. They lied to us about open borders. They lied to us Hunter Biden laptop. Joining us now is Rabbi Walicki, a great friend, and thank you so much for defending me the other day. Rabbi,
I was hate crime 5 times in one night, okay? 3 of them by Trump supporters.
What happened to you?
Okay, for one of them, I was just walking, and then I see this truck full of 4 white men pass by me, MAGA apparel, everything, And then...
Did they say this is MAGA country?
Anyways, they drove past me and they were like, "You bend over."
Okay, so they said the N-word on campus to you.
Well, yes.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so what happened to them when you reported them?
I didn't report them.
Oh, really? Okay, so maybe it didn't happen.
Okay. Anyways,
I don't believe you. I'm being honest, I don't believe you. I think you're making it up.
Okay. Anyways,
I refuse to believe that somebody on this campus would go around and sheepishly call you the N-word. I refuse to believe that. I think you're lying. Spiritual battle is coming to the West, and the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low-crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if it's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
You don't believe that Palestine have the right to exist?
No, everyone has a right to exist. Show me where it is. It's a non-existent place.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we're gonna.
That's why we're on different planets, right? But what is the national identity of Palestine? Educate me.
Palestinians.
What is that?
Like, what do you mean? What is that?
Yeah, what ethnicity are they?
Arabs?
Okay, so all Arabs are Palestinians?
No, but they are Arabs. What you trying to say? What is your point?
I'm trying to say, because at what point does somebody become a Palestinian?
When he was born in Palestine, or if his parents are Palestinians?
Again, this is why we're talking past each other.
What you trying to say?
I don't think the place exists.
What?
Because it doesn't. It's called Judea and Samaria. It's not called Palestine.
I see you. So I just have one question. There's, like, in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do think that a couple cases it is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs,
okay,
that is the only case where abortion should be allowed.
Do you think there
but people say it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay, so if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth, and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell you why.
How they're killing little kids, man.
Well, hold on. Killing kids. You mean they drop leaflets before they bomb in Gaza? They warn civilian corridors before they ever engage militarily. They do emergency medical procedures for any person in Gaza that might need it. Do you understand what's actually?
They're doing good, but it's okay for them to do bad. Then
it's called war, okay? And in war, sometimes bad things happen.
But it's a
Who
war
started
crime.
this? It's not a war crime. Throwing around war crime is a ridiculous. You know what a war crime is? A war crime is going into
killing
kibbutzes.
children is a war crime.
Going into kibbutzes, going into the Nova Music Festival, going into people's places of residences on October 7th, and putting.
So okay, you guys keep bringing up October 7th. You guys are doing bad.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Okay.
If you're going to all of a sudden attack Jews on their holiest day of the interior of Israel, expect a whirlwind and don't complain about it when it comes forward.
So what's happening is that basically what Israel doing is bad. Hamas is doing is bad. Okay?
I'm not even contending what Israel is doing is bad.
So what Israel doing isn't bad. Killing children isn't.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are 3 major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion. And Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those 3 things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim majority country, most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded
to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality of life?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion, from whether people want to live there,
White individuals are actually more likely to be attacked, especially even per capita, by black individuals in this country. The narrative that they have tried to force feed this nation post-2020 is that we are a systemically racist country to our core. We started to say the word racist more. We started to redesign our corporations. We started to teach things in our classrooms that were from the 1619 Project. And all of this has now been met with an appropriate backlash where people said, we're actually not nearly as racist as you say we are. In fact, we're the least racist country ever to exist in the history of the world. And in fact, if you want to actually talk about race-focused activity, why is it that you then ignore all the race-focused activity of black on white crime? Will, I want to live in a race-neutral country. I don't like talking about race all the time. But when I see it, and I see the left ignore it, and we try to make them live up to their own standard of...
A lot of it, though, is this woke stuff that would, like, take your breath away. I mean, research into transgender mice. I mean, it was just the U.S. taxpayer dollars should be funding that.
See, I called that out on my show. That was, it wasn't transgender. See, that worries me about you, Charlie. You seem to have swallowed that one whole, like a snake does a mouse, without looking into it. It was transgenic mice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was not, but it's hugely different. Transgender, that's just going along with what the mob thinks. It wasn't. He got it wrong, and no one was around to tell him that he got it wrong. He just went with it. Transgender. It wasn't transgender. It was transgenic. They were studying mice for health reasons, serious cancer-solving reasons. Nothing to do with transgender. So...
I stand corrected on that.
Okay.
We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.